Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be trading and going over how I trade the NASDAQ. Now, there's going to be a few points in here you're going to think is absolutely bogus. However, I can guarantee you that they will work and that they do work. So without further ado, let's jump into the chart. Now, a few of you will see my Discord and be thinking, what the hell is he on about? Because I draw these zones on a daily basis, right? Because it's always the same trading NASDAQ, and feel free to give it a try yourself and see how you get on. So basically, you're looking at the chart and you're probably thinking, what the hell's going on? I'm going to explain it. So the red candles indicate London session and Asia session. I do say it every video, and the beige ones indicate US session. In trading the NASDAQ, we are only going to use the previous US session high and low. So therefore, the indicator that I use, which I made a previous video about, is perfect for this, because we can immediately see when the session opened, where the low was created and where the high was created. And we only use yesterday's session. Let's say we're trading on the Thursday, we would use Wednesday's session. Let's say we were trading the Friday, we would use the Thursday highs and lows to get entries for the day. So when you're coming onto the day, what would you do and what would you look out for? You'd mark out the high and the low. If price opened up in the middle of the zone, you would wait for a tap into the bottom zone or a tap into the top zone. If price opened near the bottom of the zone and you got a tap in, you would wait for a 5-minute engulfing and you'd set your take profit to the top, for example, like this. You'd have your stops below the zone and you'd have your take profit right here. The same goes if we were to open in the middle of the zone again, tap into the top, we'd wait for a 5-minute bearish engulfing candle to potentially take us all the way to the downside. So when price enters in the zone, you're just trading from level to level. If price opens outside of the zone, you'd simply wait for a retest in and then take price higher to a zone like this over here, which again is a previous US session high or low, and that is all we would use for targets. The same if we broke below this zone here, we'd wait for a retest back in, and we'd then find a US low that we could target in the past, and that is it. You wait for the 5-minute engulfing candles. I will go through an example here, so I'll keep this video nice, short and sweet, and I'll probably do some more examples in the future, but I'm going to try to keep these videos more snappy, more short, more sweet. So basically that's all we look for, and it's the same with US 30 as well, and you will see this and you will see the trade opportunities I get when you see the Discord daily market analysis. You will see exactly what zones I'm drawing on, and it will start making more sense. So all we do is basically wait for US session to open. We're just going to click through here. If we just play price along here, speed things up a little bit, we're just going to wait for some sort of retest in. So we broke above now, we're going to wait for a retest in. So US session has now opened, identified by the beige sort of candles that we now have going on, and we're going to wait for a tap in and a valid reaction. So we have our engulfing candle. It's not much of an engulfing, but it's engulfing nevertheless. Where would you have your stops? Below the bodies, below the wicks, and below the zone. The body of this candle has engulfed this body. Therefore, for me, that is an engulfing candle. So if we jump to the 30-minute, where would we target? Well, as I was saying previously, you would target the previous US session highs and lows. You can mark out the low and be like, well, if price does come to this point, it might be worth going break even or seeing what sort of reaction we get from this level, as we could reverse from this price as well. However, if you target the high, you get a 1 to 1.7, which 2%. You've made more than 3% there. So without further ado, if we jump back to the 5-minute, we have our targets on here. And if we just play price along here, we've made structure. And again, like I was saying in my previous videos, you just move your structure up. As the 5-minute moves up, you can move your stop loss under them 5-minute structures. Don't then jump to the 1-minute and do the same, because you're so much more likely to get stopped out on a 1-minute structure than a 5-minute structure. It's the same goes on a 30-minute structure point to a 4-hour structure point. You're going to get stopped out more likely on the 30-minute than you would at a 4-hour. but we are day trading, so there's no way that I'd be using the 4 hour. Anyway, we can see price had a reaction off this level. We tapped in multiple times and it didn't really want to break it. So you could argue that even going into this trade, is it worth going into, because we have this zone right here? And that's when it comes to you to realize, is the risk to reward going to be worth it? In this case, it only would be if we had this target up here, which we did. That's why we took the trade. But if a cleaner setup was presenting itself on any other pair, I would argue just go trade that pair instead. Yes, this one worked out and the other one might have not, even though it was a cleaner setup, but I would be a lot happier with myself taking a cleaner setup than a bit of more of a rushed sort of ugly setup in this case. So we created a 5-minute structure. You'd move your stop loss underneath it and they take profit above. We're just going to play price along now. We broke above, and then price taps in multiple times, and then we broke through again. So it's very important to mark out these zones, because these are areas of interest where price can completely reverse. And this is why you need to have a trade management plan, because if you don't, you're going to still be in this trade wanting to ride it to the moon when price is having other ideas, and will most likely, if we just play price on here, potentially go to your stop loss. Yeah, there you go. So you need valid targets in place. For us, it's previous US session highs and lows. I will be giving more examples of this, but to keep the video short and sweet, this is just one example of it working. You can see it working multiple times in the Discord. But yeah, that will basically wrap it up. Have valid targets, have valid entry zones, and this is all you need for trading the NASDAQ and the US 30. Remember the rules I said at the start. If we open in the middle of the zone and get a tap into the top, then we want to ride price down, just if we get the valid reaction, of course. If we open in the middle of the zone, tap into the bottom zone, we want to take it to the top of the zone. And that is all how you trade it. That's it. That is generally it. So give it a go for yourself. Be strict with your rules and wait for a 5-minute engulfing candle. Like I say, it doesn't have to be a huge engulfing candle. It literally just has to engulf the previous body. That's it. And that is all the strategy is. So give it a try for yourself. Like I said at the start, you might think it's a whole load of rubbish, but try it. Give it a try. And whatever complicated strategy you're using now to get daily bias and all this rubbish, just you try this one. For NASDAQ and US 30, give it a go. For gold and silver, we have a different strategy for that, but I've made videos on that. So yeah, give it a try.